Hello everyone and welcome to Top Tips for Archaeology Graduates. Today I am joined by Jo, who works here in York for the Archaeology Data Service. Hi Jo, how are you today?
I'm fine. Yourself?
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about your role for the Archaeology Data Service, for the ADS, and what you do and what that involves.
Well, I'm an applications developer for the ADS. My role is a full-on technical one, so I do Java programming. I create large web applications. The one that I'm making at the moment is a thing called OASIS, which has been around for about 15 years in its current form, and it's a bit elderly now and is so being redeveloped. It's used by archaeologists and both underground and buildings archaeologists all around the country for reporting archaeological investigations.
So it's a very important piece of technology for the commercial archaeological world, but also for communicating that to different audiences as well. What are some of the things you enjoy about your job?
I love problem solving. So what I do is basically get given a specification, get given a problem, and I have to find a way to fix it or to make something that makes life easier for people. So, for instance, I need to make a form for somebody to fill in, and I need to make it easy to use, and making that work and designing it well is the part that I enjoy.
Problem solving. A lot of people, as I've done these interviews, say that that's one of the things that they enjoy most about their jobs. And I certainly see the kind of technical computer language side of that. A lot of people in that kind of field say problem solving, that's what they really enjoy about that. What then is the other side? What do you find more challenging?
Well, funnily enough, it's exactly the same thing. So many of the problems that I get to solve are not that simple, and creating something that people can use easily on the internet is actually really hard, because you don't see that person at all. You don't know where they've come from. You don't know how much experience they've got. So you have to create it in a way that it works for many different sorts of people, where from sort of disabilities and things like that, also to just level of experience of both archaeology and the content and the technology and everything else. And you have to design around all those different things.
There's quite a complex set of different things you have to bring together then, in terms of getting it right when the technology goes up onto the website. It's impressive. So how did you go then from your archaeology degree, studying archaeology as an undergraduate, into working what is quite a technical field and using computer language and programming?
I started off with a straight archaeology degree, and at the time that I did it, this is where I don't know what's going on now. The time I did it, you were able to split between a BA and a BSc, and I took the BSc route, and I was more interested in the bones and the things like that. When I finished my degree, I realised that I didn't really want the insecurity of chasing short-term contracts and things. So I decided that I needed to do a master's. I had a choice between, I think there's a computing master's in Southampton, or there used to be. There was also a forensic archaeology one down there that I was really interested in. But there was also, they were just starting the Archaeological Information Systems Masters at York. It hadn't started at all at the point where I did it. And I think I started off on a master's by research, and it transformed itself into that during that year. And so the fact that it was in York and I loved York, I stayed here. And it's actually, it did me really well, because I went on from that master's degree where I learned all sorts of things about, GIS, I learned databases, I learned statistics, I learned CAD, I learned all sorts of bits and pieces. mostly directly from the people who were doing it, because I was the only one doing the masters at that point. And from there, I stepped straight into a job with the ADS as a digital archivist at that point. As the years have gone past, I've sort of changed my skills and learned things, and I did a Java programming course with the university here, but through my job. So I sat in on some of their courses, and I've, you know, learned that because I wanted to make, you know, wanted to take my job into a more technical way. So I've done quite a lot of roles within the ADS. So I've done the digital archivist that was originally a curatorial officer, and I've done I was a project manager for the Herald project, which was basically designing the new OASIS system. So I've done lots of different things, but each time I've changed my role, I've always come back to thinking, actually, I want to do the technical stuff. So that's the direction I eventually went.
It's been really fantastic that your degree and then your master's really allowed you that flexibility to explore and find the kind of niche, I guess, that you occupy now, and that's really fantastic. And I think, just to say now to everybody watching, that we still do the archaeological information systems, but it's called digital archaeology, and it's kind of sister program digital heritage as well. So those skills are still taught, they're just taught under slightly different headings. It's nice to see how your career has developed. So from working as a digital archivist through to being able, through the ADS, to pursue some of the areas that you're interested in, to keep that skills training going. So you're never just the finished product, are you? When you graduate, there's always going to be things to learn as you go through your career. Perhaps I could ask you now to think back to your archaeology days and think a little bit about the archaeology undergraduate days, and think a little bit about how your degree helped you, both in terms, I guess, of archaeological knowledge, but also transferable skills as well.
Well, I think one of the things that I always thought was massively valuable and about archaeology at York was the amount of presentation that you're forced to do, and the amount of discussion and sort of thinking on your feet while, you know, in seminars and things like that, and doing assessed lectures and things like that. So you're actually taught how to give a lecture, and you're taught how to do the presentation, so that when you come to it, and the amount of, you know, conference presentations and workshops I've run and all these different things and the different ways I've done, you know, different jobs that I've done. I've also, I worked at Sheffield University for a while as a, I can't remember what the title was. It was learning development. So I was basically teaching people how to use their VLE. And so I was giving presentations to lecturers on how to do, not how to do lecturing, but how to use the VLE in lecturing and things like that. So I think those sorts of skills, which you don't really associate with archaeology in itself, are actually incredibly important, which in whatever career you take, because regardless of what you do, and the job I now do is incredibly technical, but I still need to talk to people, and I still need to think things through and present things well. So that was massively valuable.
Yeah, I can see that it's not just the skill set, it's how you learn to present that skill set to other people as well. And I think that's what you're saying, and that it's, although there are these technical skills that you've developed, it's learning to communicate those as well, and that's something that's developed through presentations and through, as you notice, it's not just standing up in front of talking to people, but also that on your feet discussion in seminars as well, which I think is really valuable from archaeology and from humanities degrees as well. So can I ask you then, just to wrap up the interview, what kind of advice would you give to graduates who wanted to follow in your footsteps? Perhaps they want to work with ADS, or perhaps see themselves perhaps as developing a career more with the technical side. side of archaeology in terms of computer programming or developing the technology that archaeologists use?
I would say never neglect the side of archaeology that you're not that interested in. So the reason why I think the ADS thrives is because most of the people who are employed here are actually archaeologists, which means that even though most of the work that we do is technical, it means that we understand the data that we're working with. So you receive in a database and you're able to look at it and look at the content of it and say, this database doesn't just work as a database, but it's actually got good data in it. And it will mean something to the people who are then going to use it in the future. So, so the fact that, you know, the reason why the people here work really well is that they both understand the archaeology and the technical things and the data. So I think that's the part, whichever part you're mostly interested in, never neglect the one that you find a bit hard, because it's massively valuable. And the other thing is that I think archaeology allows you to do, because it takes in so many different disciplines and so many different tools from other disciplines, you actually are able to do so many different jobs when you come out the other side of it. So yeah, I think that's what I would think from it. It's a long time since I did it, I have to admit.
Yeah, you have to place yourself back and put yourself in the footsteps yourself when you first graduated, but you did that lovely earlier in the interview. And I think the point about archaeology being so varied, that it does allow you to specialize, but also I think your advice is saying step back a little bit and make sure you keep that overview of what the discipline is about and the different areas of data, so that you're able to communicate between the different sectors, which is what ADS does so brilliantly in their role in preserving digital data, is as a master communicator, I think, between the different areas of archaeology, which is really fantastic. So thank you so much, Jo, for joining us today and taking time out of your schedule to chat to us. Thank you so much to you for watching. Join us again next time for more top tips for archaeology graduates.